YouTube, and Ms. Akila, you are now live on Facebook.
Yes.
Okay, so we're in motion.
We started.
All right,
Backward.
perfect. All right, good evening, City of Chicago. This is Paul Collins, and this is the Windy City Review. Our normal host, which is Queenie Green, she's out building her empire right now. So, in place of Queenie Green, we have, excuse me, Miss Akila Brown.
Hello, everybody. How are you?
Miss Akila Brown, and again, I'm Paul Collins, the co-host. Please tell us something about yourself.
Well, my name is Akila Brown once again. I'm an owner of Levels of Interest magazine, and also I own a podcast called Levels Lit, and I do speaking about congestive heart failure. I'm a congestive heart failure patient, and several other things, food, uh, just a lot of things that is going on in the world that we need. And I'm very grateful to be here tonight.
We're grateful to have you here tonight. Congestive heart failure, that afflicts everybody, but in our community, it afflicts us at a double rate, I believe, correct?
Yes, sir.
Um, Personal note, my father actually passed from congestive heart failure, so I've dealt with that for some years, and I know the highs and lows and some of the, just a tremendous thing, and that's where I actually learned for us that the money isn't in the cure, the money's in the treatment. Because my father would go through a lot of stuff, and he would be basically drowning in his own fluids when he would lay down, and we'd rush him to the hospital. They would do whatever they needed to do to get the fluids out of his lungs, and then he'd be okay for 2 or 3 months, and then right back.
Well, I had to learn some things about diet and to cut some stuff and not just do what the doctors say, but also to, go look into holistic medicine and also looking into things, medical, physical readings, yoga, just change things that could help you and make you feel more, positive about the illness, and then believing in yourself is the number one thing. The illness is not you. You are the one who can fight. You are the fighter. If you have the belief inside of you, you can be healed, but it's just up to you. And it takes all those articles to do that.
Good. So you changed your eating habits. Do we follow some of Dr. Sebi's?
Yes, I did, and also did an event last year with Dr. Happy and Sister Sadia, therapy lady.
Okay.
And it's called Have a Heart, Give a Heart, and it was women who wear red. And before I did that event rather, he worked on me. We went over there, he taught me how to breathe better, things that they didn't teach you when we were doing a cardiovascular therapy. Just believing in yourself was one of the things. It's a mind thing to be sick. Some people, we just let them, when they tell us news, we just make it a point to be a part of our lives, and that's not how to get healed.
Okay. All right. That's good information. I hope more and more people take an investment into the foods that they put into their body. The definition of food is something you take and gives you nutrient to help your body maintain and get healthier and grow. So by that definition, about 75 to 80% of what we eat is not actually food.
Right.
So be aware of that, people. So normally the Windy City Review we have, where Chicago politics come to you, we normally have political people or people who are doing good things in the neighborhood. Unfortunately, we had a last minute cancellation, which we have to expect, and we roll with the punches. So what I'm wanting to do today is introduce a segment called The Breakdown. Since we do not have a guest, we're going to do the breakdown. And the breakdown is topics of discussion that are currently going on in our city. However, before we start discussing that, I would like to do a public service announcement. The police are searching for an elderly man who has been missing from the West Inglewood neighborhood since Tuesday. His name is Charles Bush. He's 83 years of age. He was last seen near 73rd and Sealy. He was wearing a black baseball cap, gray hoodie, black jacket, blue jeans, and dark shoes. Police also said he's driving a silver 2015 Ford Escape with license plate E as in Edward 550646. Mr. Bush is 5'8", 136-pound African American male with gray hair and brown eyes. Please, anyone who sees him should call 911 or contact the Area South Special Victims Unit detectives at 312-747-8274. Remember, we got to look after our own. Look out for these people, all right? All right. Having done that, let's get into the breakdown.
Okay.
I see Akila getting her, she scooting up. She ready for this one.
Yeah.
All right. All right. So, all right, people, we know on Thanksgiving Day, there was an incident that happened over on 79th and Cottage Grove. I'm very familiar with that area as I grew up around there. What we have is a young lady who was driving by in her vehicle. She noticed that the police had pulled over at an angle, had an individual up against the squad. She started recording, and the video that she recorded shows that, let's do it like this. The police account of the situation is that the individual, Bernard Kirsch, was taken down in a tactical retreat, initially is what they said, and then they changed it and said emergency takedown. I watched wrestling most of my young life. That's called a suplex.
Exactly.
And I don't know how tactical a suplex is unless you are in a high intense situation.
Correct.
You add to that was on concrete, and the young man's head hit the curb.
Yes, it did.
Okay, so I'm going to give some of my thoughts, then I'm open the floor up for you to give your thoughts.
Okay.
The police account. I'm just going to go, the police account, that officer who's a detective, the account they gave was that they noticed a young man with an open container, what they assumed was alcohol. They pulled him over, or they pulled over and they put him up against the squad. And while that was going on, he licked the officer and then proceeded to spit at the officer where it got into his mouth and his eyes. Okay. The issue I have with that is, unless there's some extraordinary circumstances going on, if I think you're drinking alcohol, I'm not going to get in your face, because I don't know about most people. I don't know anybody whose tongue gets out from their mouth that long. How close were you to this man where he could lick your face?
Exactly.
And then he licks your face and you stay in close enough proximity to his head for him to spit on you. And then you do a tactical takedown, all in the same time frame that your partner is still in the squad car. So the time frame doesn't marry up, your reaction doesn't marry up, because I think I'm a very calm individual. However, if you spat on me, my initial reaction is not going to be step around you, grab you, and then suplex you. I'm taking it to you right then. I'm going to your head, because where you spitting from? Your mouth. So I control where your mouth is. He's facing the squad. I would have accepted more readily that he took his head and smashed his head against the squad because he was spitting on him. But to go around him and pick him up, that seemed to be something else to me. If you watch the video, you'll notice when he hits the ground, you see a little black thing skittle across the ground. It's his phone. We learned later that his mother said, well, we were on the phone when he was being accosted by the police. So it's interesting that he's talking to his mother, telling his mother, hey, I'm being harassed by the police. They stopping me, they pulling me over for nothing. And at the same time, he licking and spitting on this guy. Please.
First of all, I don't really believe all that. It just sounds kind of made up. Um, a person who is schizophrenic, sometimes they are here and sometimes they are not. I've dealt with children that are special needs, and if they're agitated or they feel uh, crowded, they will react. So he did not pay attention to the fact that this person might have some type of mental disorder. He did not think of none of that. The first thing he thought of was he's belligerent, he's an alcoholic, he's inferior, and I need to take him out. And that wasn't the way to deal with that situation. He should have called someone that could help him that deals with mental illness. And that is the problem. A lot of people who have mental illness are being locked up, and actually, you shouldn't be locking them up. The protocol is to take them to the hospital and have them evaluated, and then find out if they have someone at home that is living with them, that takes care of them, and then you go through a process, because you might find out they haven't had their medication.
Which is what he said. He did not have his medication, and they took him to the hospital after he was, injured, and he still wasn't given his medication. They gave him, I think, an ibuprofen because he had a headache. Well, if you slam my head against the concrete, I'm gonna have a headache and much more.
Well, being the fact, like I said, once again, that he has a mental case, he shouldn't have been slammed on the head. I mean, it could have caused more trauma to the situation. It could have caused a situation where things could have went further than when they went to, and it just shouldn't have been. It should have been. It shouldn't have been in that type of situation. You have to be careful about what you do in life, whether you're a police officer, you're a regular person, whoever you are. Everything is accountable for. You must be able to think outside the box and be able to be in the box.
Well, unfortunately,
That's a problem.
right, that's a problem that we face every day, all day, and we face continually. Uh, Now, apparently, uh, Chicago Police Department, the powers that be, agree with you because that officer is under investigation for excessive use of force. He has been stripped of his police authority at this point.
Yes, he has.
So, and I found out, I think again, I don't want to qualify this, I don't know this is true, but this is what I heard coming in, that his partner has also been stripped of his authority.
Yeah, because he sat there and watched and he didn't stop his partner. And he didn't take the time to find out for his personal self, besides his partner's actions, to see if this person had a medical condition or was, like I said, had a mental illness. We forget, well, certain people forget what their training was when they were in a police academy. They tell you in a police academy, being that my mom's a police officer, that you're supposed to look at all who, what, when, why, and how. And it has nothing to do with just writing. It has to do with work. You're supposed to pay attention to a person and to see, their actions and see where they're at. But right now, people now, to me, their mind is intended to hurt and harm people, and they're not taking their time. They're not thinking about protocol. They just seem like they want to be in the movies or something. Or I really don't know.
The great Last Action Hero or something.
Exactly.
I think it stems from a lack of respect of the community that you're policing. You cannot go into a community as a overseer, and that's basically, like you said, he saw this man drinking, and in his mind he was being belligerent. There are ways to deal with people. If the worst thing that this gentleman was doing was drinking alcohol on the street, is that a crime? Yes, it's a crime.
Yeah.
Was that the way to deal with it?
No, not at all.
And then here's the issue with me,
Hmm.
because this rolls into our next subject matter,
Right.
which is the other big news with the police is Superintendent. Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me, former Superintendent Eddie Johnson, because he's no longer superintendent.
Correct.
Now, I'm not gonna poke fun at the man. We all live our life. We all make mistakes, but the proper thing to do, I think, is when you, as a man, when you make a mistake, you own up to that mistake. If you know you're wrong, you go, hey, you know what? I'm gonna own up for this, and I'm gonna go ahead and take my walk. That's not what happened. So now he's embarrassed. Now the things that he was doing are now exposed publicly. And I have friends of mine who saying that they think that the mayor was wrong for breaking up his family. My defense of that is the mayor didn't make him go out with this woman and be drinking out in the public and kissing on her and everything else. He chose to do that. So, man up. You did that. You did it in the public eye anyway. Don't hold the mayor accountable for something you did.
I think it is big as a big time negligence. What I had a problem was he had so much problems with Mr. Smollett, and look at here, it's
I forgot.
360 degrees turnaround. It's really him that's a problem as well. And when you cast a stone towards one person, make sure your slate is clean. You can't go around saying things about people and you know personally yourself that you're doing things that is not right, and you're a top dog of the police academy, not police
The
academy,
police
but the
department.
police force
Yeah.
and department. You're actually in charge of all those men, those cadets and women that are taking oath, that believe in you and trust you. So how does that look? And we got crime going on. We got things like this going on with people getting slammed on their head, and you out here drinking and going out with ladies and doing infidelity towards your wife, and and you don't want nobody to know. And I just felt like, as a man, he should have came to the mayor and told her, hey, this is what really happened outside of the media, and been more mature about it. But he did not do that, and that's the reason why it went down the way it went. I think if he hadn't have told her the truth, it would have been a different outcome.
I'm in agreement with you. Let me say this. CPD has always been CPD. Um, my problems with former Superintendent Eddie Johnson was when he made the statement that in his 30 years of on the job with CPD, he had never seen any racism. I could not accept him after that, only because it's like what President Obama said about Trump. Come on, man. Really? 30 years in Chicago and you haven't seen.
That's not true.
Well, let's. Now, I'll say this. Eddie Johnson, I don't believe he was on the force then, but we just celebrated the murder of Fred Hampton.
Correct.
And I use the term murder because it was murder.
Yes, it was.
And so that wasn't the beginning, and it definitely wasn't the end of some of the tactics that are used against our community.
Yes, it is. It has not ended.
Right. So for him to sit up there and say, I've never witnessed any in my 30 plus years, witnessed any racism, it's like, really?
Contradiction is a big problem that he is not on up to. He just decides to keep talking and saying things, and like I said, 360 degrees turned back around and smacked him in his face.
Real hard.
And now he has to eat those words and just live off a lieutenant's pension instead of having a superintendent's pension. And that's why they say you always tell the truth. If you know something is not correct that you've done and you're a public official, instead of being blown up as a man, like I said, he should have came and talked to the mayor and confidence and been more respectful of himself and as well as the mayor, because she hasn't been in there that long, and that's kind of embarrassing that she has to go back and do that. And it's just, you have to have respect for yourself, and if you don't have respect for yourself, you really don't have respect for anybody else.
Now, I'll say this. I agree with you, but I'll take it one step further. When you have a superintendent of the police that you didn't pick, you inherited all that baggage with that individual, whoever it may be. If you recall, Eddie Johnson never applied to be superintendent. He was picked by Rahm Emanuel.
Correct.
And he was picked at a time where they had went through all these interviews, and they had 3 or 4 candidates, prime candidates, that they could have chosen from.
Right.
And the former mayor, Rahm Emanuel, said, I'm not taking any of them. I want this guy right here. And so anybody in the city of Chicago, oh, we know what's going on. You want your guy because you can control him. You probably got something on him. And let's fast forward. Laquan McDonald.
Well, that's another subject. I felt like he never did anything about the gentleman, the officer that was, killed Laquan. And I'm actually happy that Mayor is now looking into the case, and I'm pretty sure some other things is going to come out as well. It's just ridiculous that we're still losing people just because people got scared and they don't want to pay attention to what a person is doing. It, like I said, it's like a video. They think everything is like in a movie, that people are actually trying to pull out guns and all that stuff, and really the people be just trying to show you that they not that's not what the case is, and then you end up just somebody losing their life, and it just doesn't seem like nobody is thinking. I feel like some of those officers that have made those bad decisions need to go back to the police academy, and really all of them, and learn the different protocols of when someone is actually trying to invade their space, and when somebody has a mental illness problem, just anything. You have to.
It goes all with it goes back to training.
Yes.
It starts with training, it ends with training. So the problem will not be addressed and the problem will not be fixed until they fix the training. Because when you go through training, you're taught how to deal with people. You are taught how to deal with people. Now, again, situations can escalate very fast, and a police officer's job is to maintain control.
Yes.
Now, maintaining control doesn't mean I have to injure you to maintain control.
Yes.
Because my question has always been for police officers. You carry your taser, you carry your expandable baton, you carry your OC spray, your
Right.
mace basically. But if you're carrying all of that, but the first thing that you go to is your weapon, is your deadly weapon, what's all the other stuff for?
I guess just to hold on to, because they're not using it.
Right. It's like it's just a matter of perspective. You perceive someone to be a threat to you based upon what? Your background, your training, what you've always believed. And if none of that is addressed, then you never change how you perceive that. So, and they say this, I'm not saying this is true. A lot of police officers perceive African American males, and the darker they are, the more of a threat they are. That's the perception. I'm not saying it's true or not. I'm just saying this is what I've heard.
I just feel like right now, it's all colors of Black African American people they're targeting, and it's people that, like I said, they're making like bad judgments, and like I said, you were saying about training, they need to go back to the police academy and make sure once a month that they make sure they drill in their heads about different ways to deal with people in situations. Like I said, it just seems like everybody wants to make this a Western or like a movie or something, instead of just using the utensils to apprehend people without harming them. And a lot of people are losing their jobs. A lot of people are being stripped from their jobs. A lot of people don't have a job because they are making bad calls, you know.
So that actually rolls into the next story I wanted to hit. That's, again, we're trying to stay local. So Superintendent Eddie Johnson was allowed to retire. I mean, he got fired, but then they walked that back. He was allowed to retire. No problem with that. But let's talk about former CPD Commander Kenneth Johnson. Another Johnson. Now, I'm going to read the story to you right quick for those of you who don't know it. Former Chicago Police Commander Kenneth Johnson was sentenced to 2 years probation Tuesday for Social Security theft charges. Kenneth Johnson, who has served as commander of the Inglewood, oh wow, okay, I didn't know that, commander of the Inglewood District, received the sentence after admitting to stealing more than $360,000 in Social Security benefits. Johnson pleaded guilty back in May to one count of theft of government funds, admitting after his mother's death in May of 1994, he did not notify the Social Security Administration, prompting the agency to continue depositing money in a joint bank account he and his mother shared through November of 2017. Over that time, the Treasury Department deposited approximately $363,064 into her account, and Johnson did not return any of the money, according to his plea agreement. Johnson retired from the police last August after 32 years with the department and 3 months before he was charged. As commander of the Inglewood District, he had won praise for historic reductions in murders and shootings in 2017. So, whereas we can applaud his reduction in murders and shootings in 2017, how hypocritical can you be? Whereas I am the police, I stand for law and order, but I'm just gonna steal this money right here. And he was allowed to keep the money more or less. He didn't have to return any of it, and he got 2 years of probation. Now, if you stole $100 from Social Security,
I'm going up the river.
you're gonna be locked up.
Exactly. And they're going to throw away the key and they're going to forget about it.
Right, and you think about this. This is interesting because this is a federal offense.
Yes, it is. It's a federal penitentiary for quite at least 30 plus years. It wouldn't
Right.
you wouldn't even see the light of day. He would
More
would
than a
die
quarter
there.
meal.
Exactly.
More than a quarter meal.
I'm very surprised because it's other people that have done things such as that and they are not able to do anything like that.
Oh, I'm quite sure some people are gonna start asking some questions because it's like, wait a minute, I stole $50 and I'm still in jail and I've been here 10 years.
Well, they're looking into some things. Actually, I mean, we don't have that as a subject, but Cook County is right now. It's a big thing being said that they have all these people in there for felony cases right now. There's 100 or more that was wrongful.
Right.
So,
wrongfully convicted.
But we can't say that Mr. Johnson is wrongful because it's in black and white, and he's admitted it verbally. So
23 years.
I'm very disappointed, and I'm very. I think it's very sad that you feel that you have to make a choice to be deceptive, and you going around doing all these great things, but at night or whatever in your conscience, I know it ate you up. That's why you end up telling and saying that. But it's still, I just don't feel that it's fair that you should get off scot-free just because. I don't know why they did it. It might be because of his reputation with the police force, and they don't want to do like say that he's embarrassing. They don't want to embarrass him anymore because he's already put himself out there. But I feel like, why should you hold back on him? Why should he be spared? Because he was this great guy. He did all this stuff for the city of Chicago, but he also has been deceitful to the city of Chicago.
Right.
So,
Well, let's look at this. They give police officers a lot of leeway in things. This proves it. Eddie Johnson proves it. We've had multiple cases where police, especially CPD, flash their badges and get to walk away scot-free from things. And so they're given special privileges. But when they break the law, shouldn't they be a little heavily more fined than the average person? Because they know the law. He obviously knew he was breaking the law.
I'm sorry, probation is not the answer.
If it ain't the answer for all
feel
these
like
other
he should
people
be
out
able-
here,
I
it shouldn't
feel-
be for him.
I think he should be returning at least half that money, and I feel like he should be able to have to do some type of community service and some type of facility for people who do get Social Security.
Let me give you an
Just
example.
different things that he could be doing, and maybe do a year and two in prison.
Let me give you an example. Perfect example.
Mm-hmm.
You familiar with the actor Wesley Snipes?
Correct.
Wesley Snipes didn't pay his income tax. He was under this guidance of this person that said he didn't owe these taxes. So he went to court and they said, "Oh, you owe this money," and he was like, "Oh, okay, well, let me write a check." So Wesley Snipes wrote out a check, paid back full restitution of what he owed in income tax, and Wesley still went to jail. So this man don't have to pay back any of the money, and he gets 2 years probation.
That's what I'm saying. That's a real dirty stuff. it's like they want you to be put down in jail. They don't, if you don't have certain criterias, or you not a certain person, or you didn't do something for them, you don't get comfort. You don't get the ice cream and the cake.
All
You
I'm
just
saying,
had.
all I'm saying is, if justice is blind, and we know that that's not real, but if justice was blind, the same laws. Cello, can you check that for me? We're having a little in studio. We still good?
It's a
Okay, thank you, Cello. Appreciate it, sir. Uh, if everyone is supposed to follow the same rules and regulations, why then, when you wear the uniform of a police officer, do you get these special privileges? If you break the law as a police officer, and let's say, now, I'm not gonna say he didn't do that under color of law. He didn't do that as a police. He just did that as a regular person.
Yeah.
But being that you are a police officer, if you get all these special privileges and all these special perks, then when you break the law, your punishment should be a little extra.
yeah.
Because not you're the only person authorized by the state of Illinois to take someone else's civil liberties away from them.
That's right.
You can hold them against their will, and all these other that's not a perk, but that's a presentation of the power of the state. The presentation of power of state in that individual. They can take your civil liberties away from you because they can hold you against your will, and they can do all this other stuff. So having that authority, when you break the same laws that we all live under, your penalty should be greater because you know what you're doing. There's no question. And he get to keep the money, and he don't serve any time.
It's something too that I'm not sure exactly what it is, but it's definitely something too that you shouldn't be able to just walk away and probation. I don't feel that's politically correct, but in this world, it's a lot of things that's not politically correct, rather, because they allow people to continue to do things without with a blink of an eye. It just happens, and that's it. And we supposed to just take it or leave it.
Well, I made a statement on my Facebook account yesterday. One of my guys was saying something, and his opinion was that the world leaders laughing at Trump. He wouldn't agree with that, and I said, well, basically, we deserve the ridicule because who put him in charge? We did.
Yes, we did.
And the fact of the matter is, people need to take accountability for who they're voting for. These judges, he couldn't get away with that if a judge had inflicted the maximum penalty on him.
Yes.
So let's look at the same judge who we remember 16 shots in the cover-up.
Okay.
Jason Van Dyke was convicted of all of that, but that
Correct.
judge decided not to count the 16 shots. He convicted him on one account, but he was found guilty of all of it. So, but he's not serving the time for the 16 shots. So we need to pay closer attention. Do your research. Know who you're voting for. Because guess what? Judges get elected. And if they're not doing right by their job, they need to go.
I agree tremendously. I just noticed there's a lot of unjust things happening, and people are fighting, and some people are not. Some people just leave it alone. Some people don't care. It's just like it's like nobody. I just don't know what to say. It's out of control. We need to do better. I don't know how. It's like they don't see us as my African Americans as a unit. Other minorities are a unit. So I just feel like they just take advantage of us because we have done everything they possibly have put out there to stop us from getting above. And some of us, we allow it, and we continue to, go down that road. And then if you want more, you have to do better. And if you don't do better, that's on you. You made that decision. But it's some people out here that they want to do better, and they are excelling. But unfortunately, we still have these situations where people are just not being accounted for, and other people that are being left behind, and I think that's wrong. And I really feel that Mr. Johnson, he needs to pay some type of detention or something. Something needs to be happening to him. I don't think that's fair.
Right. And you're referring to Kenneth Johnson,
Yeah.
not Eddie Johnson, who we talked about previously, who also has
Well,
some issues.
Well, I'm just glad that this mayor had enough decency to spare him any more embarrassment.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. Okay, so we're gonna move on. Now this one, it's kind of funny. This one. It says, the police are still searching for a man suspected of impersonating a police officer. He's wanted for pretending to be an officer while robbing a currency exchange on the Magnificent Mile. The man targeted a kiosk inside the shops at North Bridge on Tuesday night near Michigan and Illinois. With a surgical mask on his face, the man told the worker he had a gun and to get a bag of money. The mall security tried to catch the man, but he got away. Look, that man had a bag of money. You weren't catching him.
What he did was, I came for what I was looking for, and I'm out.
Know.
That's basically what happened. And around this time, it's the holidays. A lot of people don't have jobs. A lot of people are lacking things in their family, and it's got to the point where they robbing, killing, and stealing. Some people that wasn't even on their mind about 15 years ago until people start losing their jobs. They start cutting things and programs for people to excel. So what do you expect from people out here? You think that they're going to just adapt and not want to do something harmful? I mean, it's right now, it's like right now people are losing their minds because they don't know what to do to keep food on the table for their family.
And speaking of food on the table, our illustrious 45 just cut food stamps.
Really?
Yes. They're cutting food stamps.
Mm.
So if you thought it was hard before, you ain't seen nothing yet.
Well, they're cutting food stamps for people who are not working or going to school. That is what's going on. If you're not someone who has a disability or a health condition. Now, with the people who are on stamps that's been on forever, that has never done any of the programs, anything, that's who's getting cut.
Okay. I can accept that, but again, just accept that if they haven't never done any of those programs, they haven't advanced beyond a certain point. And so you cutting their money, what y'all think gonna happen?
Well, I hate to tell you this, why you cutting the money, I hope you don't think that you're hurting African Americans. We know how to survive, regardless.
Right, we always have it. It's not us that you're gonna
you're not hurting.
First off, we're not the ones who are mostly on food stamps, which is the preconceived notion that they put out there that it's all the black people.
No.
It's the woman with the Cadillac driving up, getting up. No, we're not the people who are the most numerous on food stamps. So
that's too hilarious because it's more Caucasian people on food stamps than it is us. And what's so bad about it is when you go as an African American to receive food stamps, they give you such a hard time. And even at Social Security, if you have an illness, myself, hard time. You shouldn't have to wait 5 or 6 years. You shouldn't have to wait 2 or 3 months to get something when it's proven that you need it. And it doesn't make sense. But these are the results now. This is what they're doing, and they made a decision, and it's up to you. Now you got to get out here and figure out how you're going to feed your family.
Well, as I think most of the time, one of the things that I've always said, and I strongly believe in, our power, and I say our black people, our power has always been, and it is, and it always will be in our unity. Mm-hmm. If we learn to work together, and they'll say, like when talking in political terms, well, we're not a monolith. Well, maybe we should be. And I say that only in the idea that if we are a monolith and we vote as one, and we go, we're only voting for this individual, or we're only voting for this idea. And also, I'm very tired of people who promise they're already in position of authority and position of power, and they promise, well, I'm going to do this for you, I'm going to do this for you, I'm going to do that for you. And then they get elected, they turn their back. Mm-hmm. And we don't see them anymore for 4 years or 3 years or 2 years, however long they're in office. So my thing is, we want ours up front. Because we come through. In the last election, black women came through.
Yes, they did.
Hillary Clinton had 3 million more votes than the person who got elected to the office of the president.
The problem is that the world knows this is the year of the feminine, and they don't like that. And a lot of man-made situations, it's a problem of authority. It, the people, they wanted someone to stir up the pot and
Well, they
take us
got
off
that.
course.
Well, they got
And
that.
some of us have allowed that, to go in our minds detrimental, and we have not, let it go or made another observation to save ourselves. So we're at the point now, we're at the point of no return right now, as Pat Benatar would say. So
You
I
went back to Pat Benatar.
that's one of my, at no return. That was one of my songs. It's something that always stuck in my mind, about certain things. Like, it's certain songs and certain things that you remember. And you have to, what the problem is that everybody, I feel, in the African American community, some of us, we have a problem with each other. We talk down to each other. We talk about each other. Then we'll turn around and be like, hey, girl, how you doing? And blah, 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 blah. Some people have been friends for years and not friends anymore. It's all kind of stuff. We create situations we don't have to create, and that's the reason why they can take advantage of us in so many ways and take things from us, because they see that we like to be catty and keep up stuff. But it's not always that type of scenario. It's other things that goes on that causes problems. It could be family issues. It could be numerous of things. And like I said, they studied us so much before we even came over here. You wonder why they're able to use us and puppet us and all this different stuff. And that's the reason, And the problem is that we need to start studying them. And I hate to say it, and I'm going to be real with you, if it wasn't for us, there would be no white man or white woman. I'm not trying to offend anybody.
Oh no, that's a scientific fact.
And yeah, their name, you know who you are. You know what your name is. Yaku knows that, and that's who you are. But you don't respect us as queen and kings because it's a problem. You feel once you found out what we was, you couldn't deal with it. So now you're just made a complete butt of all of us. You trying to. Some of us are not taking it, and this is what has happened. These are the results. And like I said, if we was a unified, all brown people, we wouldn't have these problems. Mexicans need to respect Puerto Ricans. Puerto Ricans need to respect Dominicans. It's just all the way around.
What's our time?
1 minute.
Okay.
Yeah, whole another hour.
Okay. Okay. So our allotted time, we have a whole nother hour.
Cool.
So speaking upon what you just said, I want to go back for a moment. We actually, I think we're starting to come together, give out ECCSC, Tyrone Muhammad, and what that brother's doing. He's trying to.
Big ups.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Big ups to Tyrone Muhammad.
He's trying to create this movement where we are consciously aware of the things that are being done and have been done, are being done, and being planned on for people who come out the prison system. One of the things I have a truly problem with is these for-profit private prisons. When did that become a thing?
Well, it became a thing when we have no idea because they've been quietly owning these prisons for years. It's some people that you wouldn't even believe that owns a prison that we watch on TV every day, and it's crazy. I guess somebody in their family went on and became somebody big in this facility, and they decided to invest in it.
But the idea, so the whole purpose of prison was to take someone who has broken a law and that's their punishment, to go to prison
For a time.
and for a time. And hopefully when they're in there, they're supposed to be retrained, reevaluated, everything like that, and then they come back out to society. So at what point did we say, oh, you know what, instead of taking somebody, taking them in, training them, giving them an opportunity when they come out, we're going to warehouse them. And that's all a prison is now, is a warehouse. And that's public and private prisons. They're warehouses. But these private prisons, they only make money when they have prisoners in there. So it's to their benefit to get more people in prison. And that goes back to what you said earlier about Cook County has erroneously convicted these people of felonies, and they may not have been guilty. Now the question is, Cook County has a lot of problems. Their paperwork, things does not flow very well in this county. So, and that's being changed slowly but surely. But the question that really hurts my heart is, did they do it on purpose?
Yes, it did. In order to get the things that you're speaking about to get done, they had to do this. They had to detain people to get what they wanted, because they had buyers and people who invested money in what they were doing, and they didn't want to fall short. They wanted to stay rich, so they decided to start telling people, officers, go out there and make my quota. Go out there and get all the rest you can. You know, down the line, the officers are doing that because that is a part of their job, but they're not knowing. Some of them don't know.
Some of them don't know. Some of them do
not
know.
knowing that they're actually doing this because they need it for some type of, deadline for somebody to get some shoes somewhere, or some
We're getting-
book bags.
And
or
you know,
something.
we're